Hello everyone, and welcome back to Bonjour, Hello, Hola for another French grammar lesson. Today we're going to learn one of the most useful French verb tenses, l'imparfait. By the end of this lesson, you'll know when to use the imperfect tense, how to form it, common mistakes to avoid, and you'll have practice with several examples. Let's get started. So what exactly is the imparfait? Imparfait is a past tense in French. It's used to describe things that were happening in the past, things that happened regularly, or situations and descriptions from the past. Think of it as the French equivalent of I was doing, I used to do, or it was. For example, je jouais au soccer. That can be I used to play soccer or I was playing soccer, depending on the exact context. The first major use of the imparfait is to talk about habits in the past, so things that you did regularly. So for example, quand j'étais enfant, je jouais dehors tous les jours. When I was a child, I used to play outside every day. Notice that this isn't one specific event, it's something that happened repeatedly. The imparfait is also used for descriptions. When you're describing a person, place, or situation in the past, the imparfait is usually the correct tense. For example, la maison était grande. The house was big. The sentence simply describes the house. Nothing is happening, but we're creating a picture of the past. The imparfait can also describe actions that were in progress. For example, je lisais un livre. I was reading a book. The action was ongoing in the past. We don't know when it started or ended. We're simply focusing on the action as it was happening. Now let's learn how to form the imparfait. The rule is surprisingly simple. First, take the new form of the verb in the present tense. For example, parler, nous parlons. Remove the ONS and you get PARL. Then you just add the imparfait endings. These endings are AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. So pronouncing them, they sound pretty similar. A, Ion, EA, A. And that's it. Let's see a complete example with the verb parler. Read these forms aloud with me. Je parle, tu parles, il parlait, nous parlions, vous parliez, il parlait. Notice that many endings sound exactly the same when spoken. This is completely normal in French. Here are some extremely common verbs in the imparfait. You'll see these all the time in French books, videos, and conversations, so it's helpful to learn them. Let's go over the conjugated versions for il or elle. Être, était. Avoir, avait. Faire, faisait. Aller, allait. Vouloir, voulait. Pouvoir, pouvait. For example, il faisait froid, it was cold. Nous avions un chien, we had a dog. Elle voulait apprendre le français, she wanted to learn French. Try to become very familiar with these verbs. You'll notice that on the last slide, there was one important exception, the verb être. Instead of using the regular stem, être uses E with an accent aigu, T. And when I'm saying the regular stem, I mean, remember that note that I said it was going to be the new version of the present tense? When you conjugate être in the present tense, it's nous sommes. So you're not using the base of the new conjugated in present tense. You're going to use et, a E with the accent aigu and T. For example, j'étais, tu étais, il était, nous étions, vous étiez, il était. Because être is one of the most common verbs in French, it's worth memorizing these forms. If you've watched my previous video about how to conjugate the passé composé, you might be wondering what's the difference between the imparfait and the passé composé. A simple way to think about it is the imparfait describes the background. The passé composé describes completed events. So for example, je regardais la télévision quand mon ami a appelé. I was watching television when my friend called. Watching television is the background action. The phone call is the completed event. Let's look at a few more examples. Il pleuvait. It was raining. Nous jouions au soccer. We were playing soccer. Tu étudiais beaucoup. You studied a lot, or you used to study a lot. Ma grand-mère faisait du jardinage. My grandmother used to garden. Notice how all of these describe situations, habits, or ongoing actions. Let's practice. On the screen, you'll see a few verbs in the present tense of the new form. I want you to take a second to conjugate those into the imparfait. And here are your answers. Now let's do a mini quiz. Select which sentence uses the imparfait. A. J'ai mangé une pomme. Or B. Je mangeais une pomme. Which sentence is the imparfait? The correct answer is B. Je mangeais une pomme. I was eating an apple, or I used to eat an apple. Let's review. Use the imparfait for habits in the past, descriptions, and ongoing actions. To form it, take the new form, remove ONS, add the imparfait endings, and remember the special exception, être uses the stem I accent aigu, T. Now it's your turn. In the comments, write a sentence beginning with quand j'étais enfant, and finish it using the imparfait. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more French grammar lessons. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bonjour, Hello, Hola.